Hello everyone, and welcome back to the All Words Are Free podcast. Before we get started, we have to do an outfit of the day. So it is as depicted below, but it's finally turned into summer again, which I feel like I may have said last episode and then it went really dingy and now the sun is back. But it was high of about 26 degrees today, which is impressive considering the rest of this July. But today I'm wearing denim shorts and a yellow sort of crossover top with a white shirt on top, which is very white, very crisp, if I do say so myself. Life hack: when something is drying, when a shirt is drying, put it on a hanger, hang it off a clothes made. Revolutionary. No creases, none. Iron, no need. Obviously sometimes there is a crease where you're like, okay, I gotta iron this. But yeah, it's good. Jewellery as usual. I put my hair up today, which was nice. I'm glad I chose that, It's when I have my hair down, it's commitment to the bit. I'm glad I put it up today because it's been quite hot and I've been going in and out of a lab as well. So it's just much more helpful to have the hair up. And yes, white sneakers. So in today's episode, we're going to be talking about art. So when I say art, I mean the arts as a whole. But today we're going to be specifically focusing on painting and sculpture in conversation with my dad, Michael, or Mike. And the quote that has inspired today's episode is from a Substack article by my friend Rebecca, which is linked below. And the quote is, "How different our experiences of this painting must have been." My dad is on the phone, so I'm going to be talking about asking you some questions and all that jazz. So I guess just to begin with, what is like why have I asked you to talk about art? What is your link with art and everything? Or why do you like it? What's your thing? Yeah.
I just do.
You just do.
Yeah, I've always liked art. I always found going around galleries or museums, anything like that, I found that quite uplifting. There is art I don't like, obviously, like with everybody, but there is a lot of art I am quite passionate about, especially the Impressionists. I'm a big fan of those, and sort of later art. I'm not very much au fait with sort of like Renaissance art or anything like that. I'm very much a mid-19th century onwards as the art I like, up to a point, and then sort of modern art, what we class now, is art I'd say struggle with, because I'm not entirely sure what they are trying to get across. Some are like the majority, I don't get it. Is it not their fault because of what they're doing? Is it my fault I don't understand it? But I suppose in most cases, everybody's got an opinion. Everybody will like or dislike different things, which makes us individuals. So that's how it is. But like I said, my real passion is American abstract expressionists like Jackson Pollock and Rothko. I love Rothko's work. Really big slabs of colour. I really get it. And Jackson Pollock will like that. But then Damien Hirst will pickle a shark and stick it in a big cubicle and go, there, that's all. And I'm going, that's more like expensive taxidermy.
Yeah.
And you're just like taking the mick.
I guess it's very art's very subjective, right? So obviously, like you say, it's like everyone has their own taste and like what is good and what isn't. I'm not like arguing for the pickled shark. Don't get me wrong. I'm not entirely sure what that would mean either. But it's interesting to hear like what different people are into, because I guess you've probably come across people saying like they're not entirely sure about like you're saying about the big blocks of colour and that. It's like they maybe can't see the artistry in it or something. What would you, as somebody who likes that sort of thing, say to something like that? Like, what do you take from it? What do you get from that?
Well, I think like with Rothko's work, especially the big ones where they're like massive, like shades of red. When you see them, they're like 10 foot tall by 8 foot or something like that. And it's not like a big slab of colour that's just slapped up once. It did very thin washes over these things. So it took ages, and there's like subtlety. And if you stand really, really close to them, the colour itself seems to build your entire vision. So it's like that kind of experience where your vision's completely gone because all you can see is the colour. There's one that's like orange and yellow, and there's just a fine line between the two colours. Now, if you stand and stare at that, it's like the ending of 2001: Space Odyssey, where the astronaut goes into the monolith at the end. It's just colour, and he's coming at him, and it's like that. You get that close to it, and it's just the subtlety, and it's like an experience. That's what it is. It's an experience of looking at something like that, and that's the genius of it. That is the genius of Rothko's work, is the fact that you can stand away from it, and it is like a giant monolith of colour, or you can go really, really close to it, and you can see the subtlety that he's done to paint it, and you get, and then your vision will go because you're just surrounded on. It's entirely filled with this colour, and I think that's what you get for me, from a Rothko painting. And the same with Jackson Pollock, because of the swirls and how it's sort of like laid on, and with the sort of the drip method that he did, it moves, because you can't see all of it because it's so big. You can't just go in a minute, and then you sort of look at it, and it ripples, it moves, and that's the genius of the American school of expressionism. And then if you go back to like the Impressionists, like I said, my personal favourite as Monet. And you look at some of the water lilies ones, they're huge. You don't think that they're going to be as big as they actually are. They fill rooms in the Louvre in Paris, and they're just massive, massive paintings. And you get close, and they move. If you go back further into his career, with a few simple swishes of a brush, you get, he says, this is a windmill and a boat. Da-da-da. But when you see it, it's like, you just look at it thinking, he's got everything that you need in that painting of a windmill and a boat in like about 3 brush strokes. And it's like, that's just crazy that he can just do that, and it's the emotion that and you feel it. It's very strange. It's very strange, but they're all like that. They're all early artists like that. Like I said, it's just work, modern work. It's like, what are you saying? It's like when the Turner Prize is announced every year. They go, oh, well, this person's up for the Turner Prize. Here it is. It's a shopping trolley with action men in it. And they go, right, and what is that supposed to represent? Oh, he's got, and then they rattle out some massive title that he's got. And you look at it and say, yeah, but it's still a shopping trolley filled with action men. No disrespect to the artist. Go out and sculpt something, or go out and paint something. Do not present something like that and call it high art.
I've got like a few questions written down stuff, and it's there are several that I could go on to because of like the different like points you've raised. So that's really good because it's all going to link in. But one of the things I guess I wanted to pick up on first is that idea of how the art makes you feel, and like it almost makes you sort of transcend real life in a way. The experience of just becoming totally immersed in something, like you're almost part of the art is that experience. And one of the it's a quote from that I read the other day about art. It was just someone talking about, so Rebecca Harper talking about how, while looking at a painting with somebody else, there's 2 people looking at the painting, and the other person just kind of looked at it fleetingly and then walked away, whereas Rebecca was looking at it and was almost transfixed by it. And it's that idea of potentially the subjective nature of it, as well as maybe, I don't know, maybe there's a higher appreciation for art from some people, or maybe it's just affecting different people differently, or people have different experiences, so they're going to see something different in a different piece of art and all that sort of thing. But anyway, the quote is, how different our experiences of this painting must have been. It's just very simple, but I just thought it was quite like interesting to I don't know, if somebody else to say that like they got so intrigued in this one particular piece. And it's funny because if I'm going around an art gallery, there always is, or there tends to be that situation where it's just one or maybe two pieces I'm just completely enamored by, and I don't know what it is, but there's just this feeling of this really sort of intense feeling that you can't quite describe, where it just kind of takes you out of yourself for a second. Yeah, because it's interesting. I looked into it, and being all analytical and sciencey as I am, there's this emotion called frisson, which is essentially when you listen to a piece of music or see a piece of art, things like that give you that sort of indescribable elation, almost this feeling of sensation of excitement or thrill or intense emotion, like you get shivers or goosebumps, that sort of thing.
Yeah.
Go on.
No, I was just trying to say, because it's like everybody's different. Like when we were at the Ashmolean, I was quite taken with the Monet that they got there,
yes,
and the Blue Roofs one. I was just totaled with that one. That was like how good that was, and then I said other people would like to just walk past it. Yeah. Oh yeah, don't like that one. And then because of how it is at the Ashmolean, they've got the different rooms, haven't they? They've got the stuff with water circuits, which is really good. And then they got the sort of like the Van Gogh and the Pizarros, which were absolutely amazing. And then you go into the room where you go into like the sort of like the pre-Raphaelites and that kind of stuff, and it's like that kind of leaves me a bit cold. That does.
Yeah.
And then in the far room, you've got the Turners, and they're brilliant. Is it like in the doorway you've got the Monet, and he's a few brushstrokes and that's it, and he's caught the scene brilliantly. And then in the next room you've got almost like photorealism. Are we in it because of that? Is it because like we can take photos that the photorealism stuff doesn't really? It's like, well, I don't know. And then, but then you go into like the following room. Like they've got the Turner and the Constable in there. But are you enamoured with the Turner and the Constable because it's Turner and because it's Constable? Not necessarily the subject matter that they've done. It's because you are told that Turner and Constable are brilliant painters. If someone did a really bad painting, say, but you are told it's brilliant, do you then go, I don't get it, but I do kind of like it because I've been told it's good? Yeah. Yeah, but I can understand that with the photorealism stuff, because at the time it was like touched upon by the Australian critic Robert Hughes, where when these pictures were being painted, there's no tally, there's no cinema.
Yeah.
Quite a few people couldn't read, and so to sort of get across certain things, they relied heavily on artwork to get things across and for people to appreciate. Because, say, in 1850, you're not going to have, Facebook or YouTube, so you have to have that. Whereas now, because we're so surrounded by it, and it's so accessible now, that maybe art has taken a bit of a sort of knocking and backseat, even like at the turn of the 20th century, like with Monet and those kinds. There's no cinema. There's still reliance on paintings to sort of show things, and it's like, oh, crikey. And for me, photography was there, obviously, with black and white. If you come across, like, see a black and white picture of a French village and go, oh, yeah, it's a French village in black and white. Well, then you see a Gauguin, and he's painted it, and it's like orange and yellow and red, and it's like, whoa, look at that. Look at the colour of that. Whereas now, you go, here's a French village. I've filmed it on my iPhone 15. Look how clear it is. and you go, oh crikey, and then if someone paints it, you go, yeah, but the photograph's better.
It's not real enough.
Yeah. It's I think that's where we've kind of lost art appreciation.
Lost the human touch.
Yeah, because anybody with an iPhone can photograph something that's absolutely, it's like jaw-droppingly awesome. You can take a great picture when you can change things on it using the AI that's in the system. I'm thinking, oh dear, you lose you lose the human side of it. I don't think, say, Van Gogh was now and he painted, they go, well, he has a nice picture. But
it's all right, isn't it? Yeah.
It's all right. Yeah, his sunflower's a bit wonky. We don't like the stem, but it's all right.
Yeah.
It's all right. But look, my 6-year-old's photographed the dog with grandma's false teeth in, and it's that, and it's like, taking away that sound. I think that's why sort of like, is modern art trying too hard? Is it trying too hard to be shocking and provocative, or because art has always done that?
Mm-hmm.
How far do you go?
Yeah.
When you go, well, this is my artwork, isn't it shocking? And they go, well, yeah, I suppose so.
I think it's
yeah. I know.
Yeah.
But it's just personal choice. It's just like music's personal choice. People like pop, people like reggae, people like classical, people like opera. I like heavy metal. And then other people don't like opera. People don't like reggae. Other people don't like opera.
Yeah.
It's the thing that makes us identity of us different. The things we like and things we don't like. And then there are times when we enjoy both. You might enjoy something, but like if you go to a concert, if you were going to see, I don't know, Britney Spears, you're going to be standing with a load of Britney Spears fans.
Yeah, unless you got a begrudging dad being dragged along.
Yeah, the begrudging parent who's gone. Yeah,
but yes, no, it is. Yeah. It's nice that everyone can be so different and also find community in art in the realm of painting, but music, writing, anything like that. Yeah.
Yeah, and any of the arts, it's sort of thing.
Yeah.
But it's just sometimes it's like why humanity has found the need to make art. That's always puzzled me. Why is it I think recently some cave paintings have been found, or they've seen something in ones where they've shown. I think it's people with animals, and it's like like farming almost, where they've got like, I think it's pigs in the picture, where they're like domesticating them, for farming, and so it's like the first time is like they've seen this in cave paintings, and somebody at the time, however many tens of thousands of years ago, has commemorated it by making a cave painting. And it's like, but and it's like point of, and the hands prints that they have, I think it's in Australia, where they've used the paint, they put the hand upon rock and then spray paint over the top of it, the hand, and then remove the hand, and there's prints on these rocks, and they're like tens of thousands of years old. Yeah. But it's like, what is the need for humanity to leave some kind of artistic mark wherever they go? Yeah. What's the sort of the internal drive to think, see a rock face like the things in the burial mounds on Anglesey, where I think they date back to Neolithic, and as part of the grave goods there are stones that have been carved with what is actually the Snowdon range, like looking from a distance, so it's peaks, and they've carved it with like Celtic symbols or Neolithic or Bronze Age symbols, and they put it as part of the grave goods. It's like, this is a picture of what you can see from this part of Anglesey. It's tens of thousands. You go back and it's still artistic interpretation of the landscape. But why? What is the need to record it?
Yeah.
Because nobody else does it. You don't get gorillas carving things. This reminds me of something I did last week. But only man as a species wants to do it.
Yeah. It's interesting.
Very strange.
Yeah. I think, like, obviously, so for example, in comparisons to, say, the gorilla, which is completely sad, the higher intelligence.
Yeah.
It's interesting because things like the chimpanzees, they have performance.
Well, chimps have created tools. They've filmed them, I think.
Yeah.
I think it's chimpanzees where they've created tools to get termites out.
Yeah.
And I think the bonobo apes do some big basic tools. But is it like the intelligence thing? Because I know sometimes they give, I think it's normally in America, where they give animals brushes and paint. And I think there's an orangutan somewhere who do paints. But I'm thinking, is it a conscious effort, or is it thinking, oh no, here we go, I've been given that brush again? Is it like a conscious thing?
Yeah, like, oh, for Christ's sake. Yeah.
Oh, to get me apple.
Or is it just what humans are placing on them? It's like, they're sweeping it back and forth, they're making a pitch. Is it like, are they, or are you just seeing that because that's what you want to see?
Yeah, which goes on to the thing about 6-year-olds painting and being told they like Picasso.
Yeah.
I don't think so. They're just being 6 years old. That's all.
Yeah.
They aren't master painters. They are being 6.
Oh yeah, I mean, yeah. No, it's really interesting. It's like the idea of like humans, say for example, like cave drawings and stuff, depicting the day's hunt or something in similar essence of like writing a diary entry. Whether it's a thing of permanence, the idea of as an unfortunate the unfortunate consequence of higher thinking is the fact that we like to read into a lot of things. So maybe it's almost that overthought. Does humans sort of crave that certainty and perhaps being able to make your mark or have that sort of permanence? So always see a representation of yourself or other humans, like you're saying about earlier art and the fact of being like, oh, I say earlier in respect of entirety of times, not earlier, but like when they were doing very much like very realistic depictions of say city scenes, or people were so amazed at seeing this interpretation of real life that wasn't quite real life. And I don't know whether it's like now we just see photos as not necessarily any different to real life, which obviously you can get into in a different sense of things being unrealistic, but that's not what this is about. Whether the rise of sort of more abstract art or whatever is that sort of
it says like
need
with
for
abstract.
escapism.
I think with abstract is because when you've got somebody who, like I said, will do a photorealistic piece, sometimes it's like if you're going to sort of do a picture that's photorealistic, take a photo. There's no point in doing a picture that's photorealist if you can just take a photo, or if you do something based off a photo.
Yeah. So you could say that modern art, in that sense, to remain perhaps separate from photography as obviously another art form, but we're talking about like painting. Pushing it further and further away from reality per se, because to just keep it as a separate art form, perhaps.
Yeah. If you do photography and it's like, then that is its art form. The art form is the photography itself. But when people do photorealistic pictures, because it takes so long, they take a photograph and then work off the photograph. Well, the original photograph is the art. You are just copying the photograph. Your painting or picture, if it's realistic, is not the art. The art is the photograph that you took originally, because you're coming a step away from it. But like the abstract work, it's because I always believe that abstract sort of like Rose is because it's producing something that nature wants.
Yes.
Nature cannot produce some art Rothko. It cannot produce a 10-foot by 8-foot slab of red. There's just no way it could do it. Nature cannot produce a Jackson Pollock. You know, it's that. It's the human side of nature that can create those kind of things. It's not nature itself. Nature cannot produce that kind of thing. Nature's very precise in what it produces. If you look at a tree, I mean, yes, your photorealist painters could probably do is or take a photograph of it, and your landscape painters will produce what looks like a tree, but nature produces that tree with all its detail and all its leaves and everything about it. So that's nature. If someone came along and stuck up a 20-foot high pole made of like an elongated rectangle, painted it gloss black, and stuck it where the tree was, nature can't produce that, but an artist can, humanity can, and we can do that. So that's the abstract stuff, the abstract art, and that kind of thing. That we as a species produce that thing, sort of, for the abstract stuff.
Almost, like a human need to sort of subvert reality. Like we can transcend nature and like I was saying before, like make ourselves a sort of a permanent fixture rather than what we are, which unfortunately or not is a transient presence.
Yeah, there's a painting by Gauguin, and it looks, I think it's an angel wrestling with something or other. I can't remember its title, but the sky's yellow and the ground's red, and nowhere in nature can you get a bright yellow sky. And I think that's why an expressionistic side, because it's about the artist as well and how they are feeling, will produce that. So it's I don't think that's why we have that kind of work. But as I think you can't do it anymore. That's the thing. 21st century art struggles against 19th and 20th century art because everything moves so fast now. Everything changes. It just moves so fast.
It's almost that. Do you just end up? Obviously, there's the extremes in trying to create something new, and it's difficult to create something new when it almost seems like it's either being taken over by something like photography, or you find yourself recapitulating the styles of all of the artists before you, because it's nothing new per se to paint in a particular way, perhaps because of the volume of movements that have already occurred.
There's no new movement of art. You can't say, this is a new movement of art, it's a new wave of British art, and because you're thinking, well, it's all been done before. I don't really. I mean, can you name any modern artists? I mean, obviously those who move in the circles of the art world would be able to rattle a few off, but the only one I know of as a modern artist, because even like people like Damien Hirst, is back in the 90s. So he's not a modern artist. But I can't name any. I suppose the only one really who sort of like stands out at the moment, and is a style of art, is the artwork that Banksy does.
Yes.
But it's still, it's got the thing where it's like slightly subversive, but is the mystery. Like,
if you knew who he was.
If you knew who he was, thinking, oh, well, that's by, I don't know, Bill Banks. Oh, right, okay.
Yeah. Is it almost like the mystery behind the man that is the art in itself?
It's more important, yeah. If you said, like, oh, it's Bill Banks' work, it'd be on a case of, right, how much is it worth? Nothing, right, get a brush. Where does he live? Because we're going to send him a fine for him for graffiti. It's that kind of thing. Yeah, but if you knew who he was, he probably wouldn't be. But it's the mystery surrounding the artist. It's that kind of thing, is it? And it's the street art, isn't it? But the street art itself is not new.
No.
It's been around since the late 70s in New York, when they got the people tagging their metro system. And that's where it came from. And the colours in it, it's there. That's where it comes from. So there was an art form. Street art is like 40 years old. So it's not a new art form. Back in the 70s and early 80s, it was. It's like, whoa, what's all this? What's all this graffiti and all these things? And when you've got Andy Warhol taking Jean-Michel Basquiat under his wing, because he was one of the sort of like that street art under his wing, and became very successful. It's still 40 years ago. It's not now. It's not like a new art form now. So I think maybe artists themselves struggle with finding new art that they can't. It's like, well, if they did a painting, it'll be go, oh, that's like Van Gogh. And Van Gogh was like 150 years ago. Oh, he can't no good. I say, right, I'll do this. Oh, that looks like X, Y, and Z. Oh, that was done 70 years ago. What about this? Oh, that looks like Picasso from 1940. So maybe being a modern artist is difficult. So maybe that's why they do sort of like weird stuff like Action Men and shopping trolleys. Because they can't. There's nothing that they can do that would make them stand out as something new. So they struggle to even get noticed. It was obviously they're there because there's an artist community throughout the world, but maybe just producing new art is like trying to find a unicorn.
Yeah, perhaps it's the modern sort of way of say social media and things like that, or the web. I couldn't think of the word. I was like, what are they online? Because per se anyone can share their work. Perhaps it becomes extremely saturated or very difficult for any one person to become a name, to be the artist of the moment, because there are so many, and that's good in the way that people can get their work out there, but it also makes it very difficult to become the biggest thing. It's like writing, right? There's so many. You go to a bookshop and you see multitudes of different names and people from all different backgrounds, which again is amazing. That's what you want, but it's also then extremely difficult to be like an Agatha Christie, if you want to think about it in those terms. Or do you find the joy in the audience that you have? I guess that kind of.
Well, it's just like social media. I mean, you can go on social media, like YouTube, and put in paint a picture like Van Gogh, and it brings up about 15 dozen turning out to paint like him. And then, like saying about being the market is saturated. It's like 50 years ago, you pick up a guitar, you played, and then 6 years down the line, or 5 years down the line, especially in the UK, you're probably in a punk band, and you know 3 chords or 4 chords if you're lucky, and you'll be able to do it. And you become like quite well known, quite respected. Your lyrics are really cutting, and you're top name. You go on YouTube and you've got 12-year-olds who would play the pants off you because they are that good.
Yeah.
And then you go, oh crikey, he's really good. Then you click on somebody else, and they're really good. Then you click on somebody else, and they're really good. Then you click on somebody else, and they're even better. And it's just saturated with all these stuff. And then you're thinking, I wonder what all these people who are actually in bands, because invariably these people aren't in bands or musicians. They just love to play the music. But because it's on there, you're thinking, and you've formed a band with your mates, and you stand up on stage and go, God, we're going to really, really struggle because we're not as good as the 12-year-old. And then you look at your mates and go, actually, we'll call it a day, shall we? We're not that good. So you're going to sort of deprive some people who might really like the type of music that you play, because Delbert at 10 can play Vivaldi's Four Seasons. It's like you can play your one nicked Metallica riff, and you can't compete with it.
Yeah, it can be very difficult to sort of maybe keep going with something you're very passionate about, because it's that thing of, well, it's never going to be anything, or oh well, all of these people are better than me, so therefore I'll just give them up. And that's kind of very, very sad. And I think, say for example, becoming famous, it's very right place, right time, and it's not necessarily about talent maybe, but about exposure or who you know, or I mean obviously people who get big, I'm not saying they're not talented, but what I'm saying is that from person to person, perhaps it's more of a game of happenstance than anything.
Well, it's like even successful people who are like sort of start, they question themselves. I saw something with James Hetfield, and he said sometimes he feels like that he's too old for what he's doing, and sometimes he feels a bit like a fraud and this, that, and the other. And this is a guy who's been in the band since he was like 18. He's like 60, and he's thinking, but James, you're like a Metallica.
Yeah, but everyone there doubts.
But he feels, he said, he himself feels so. Somebody like of his stature in one of the biggest bands in the world is having, thinking, what about the guys who struggle with local bars playing? It's a strange thing with just because it's creativity, isn't it? Anything like that.
It's creativity.
Maybe he just doubts that until you get at something where somebody actually comes up and says, "That's really, really good," and then you go, "Oh,
actually, yeah, I can." Yeah.
I'm not as bad as I thought I was.
And maybe that's the whole point of art. It's that sense of community more than anything else. And I guess that kind of goes back to what we were saying before about the because when you create art, it's, I mean, perhaps maybe, you write a song and you see yourself for a bit, or you write a poem and you're like, oh, no other eyes will see this. But maybe it's about seeing yourself, and then also when say, for example, a painting, other people see it and understand a little bit more about you than they did before.
Yeah, and is it like the need for praise from your peers?
Well, yeah.
To you, I'm assuming that. I mean, actors, when you see them and saying that when they love the live audience because they react to them, and it's that entity where the appreciation, they come off and you go, yeah, I've done really well, so I felt the real, and maybe that's what artists were getting with the paintings, and they said like, yeah. They didn't care what the critics said because critics are critics and that's what they're there for. But somebody will come along and say, "Oh, I love that painting. Oh, I'll take that off your hands. Oh, right, okay, fantastic." Are you going to do any more work? It's like, oh yeah. So you go in with that newfound, yeah, I can do it.
Newfound sort of vigor for it, maybe.
Yeah. And then if you get like shot down, as I suppose they all do, when they get shot down, they go, why not bother again? Which is a shame, really, because sometimes people shouldn't give up.
Yeah.
Obviously, there's going to be people out there who love that kind of work and probably think.
Okay, so having covered most of my questions just within talking and not me asking any question, that was great. I was like, oh my god, I don't need to do anything. I can just listen. Like,
Just listen to me waffling on.
Yeah. No, we're very alike in that way. I think my final thing is a quick little ending point. Do you think art should be so expensive? Or, in some cases it can be really, really expensive. Do you think the worth is in that? Like, do you think you can put a price on things? And is it a bit ridiculous how expensive some things are? Or do you think it's fair because of, say, a name attached to a piece of artwork, perhaps? Or, I don't know, what do you think about the price of things?
Ridiculous. Absolutely ridiculous.
Yeah.
Art is for everybody. They shouldn't have values on it of millions upon millions of pounds. There's famous ways like paintings have been bought up by businessmen and then are locked in vaults.
Yeah, that's tragic. Yeah.
That's not what the artwork was created for. That's not what the artist's intention was. The artist's intention was to put this picture there for people to look at, to enjoy. People buy art now as an investment. I think there's flower pictures that Van Gogh painted for Gauguin when they went to when he moved to Arles, like a welcome thing. It's in a vault in somewhere. Some businessmen bought it for
that's just so sad.
Millions,
and
it's going to. The next time you see that, whenever it is, what will it be for? Will it be for an exhibition? Will it be for this? No, it'll be when he sells it. And it's like, however millions you paid for it, it's probably going to be worth twice as much when it comes out. It's become a commodity. And it's all sort of due. Robert Hughes touched on it in his Shock of the New series and book, where he says art's become a commodity. Sort of around about, I think it's the 70s, where businesses were told to invest in art because you can pick them up. You can pick a Picasso up for this a month if you wait long enough. Especially, he passed away in 73, I think. you're dead now, worth more. Buy it now, wait 20 years, sell it, it'll be worth more. And that's what businesses were doing. And they were buying them up. So that drives the price up for all art. And it's like, yeah, but that's not what it was done
It's
for.
not the intention behind it.
It's not the intention. It's the intention for people to enjoy. I mean, I know, like the Ashmolean, there's paintings in there by Picasso and Renoir. But it's when you look at the things and they say they've actually been given as part of death duties. So people have obviously might have had these paintings sitting on the wall for 80 years. Then they've died, and the kids have come along, and because of the prices shot up, they can't keep hold of them because of death duties. Because the picture, which was bought for, I don't know, 5 shillings and sixpence in 1901, in 2001 is now worth £50 million. You're thinking, well, I can't afford it. I can't afford to insure it. I can't pay for it. I've got to give it away. And you feel like saying, but that's not right. And then it goes to an auction house. The auction house go, blah, 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 50 million for the Picasso. Bang. Boom. Where's it going to? Oh, it's gone to some businessman. Is he going to put it on display? No, he's going to keep it in his vault. Oh, right, okay. And then you never see it again. It's gone. Because in 10 years' time, it would be worth 100 million. Yeah, but Picasso probably didn't paint it for that idea in out, Because at the time, he's probably starving. He's probably living on sardines and rainwater. And he's thinking, how can it be worth so much now? But it's the market that drives it. It's like, it's in a way, it's like the bankers when they paint them on walls, and someone comes along and takes the wall out because they want the painting on the wall, from the wall. That one in Port Talbot.
Yeah.
It was on the side of the garage. Somebody came along and like took it off the side of the garage with the wall, and that was sold at that corner of the wall because it was the banks. He probably didn't want for them to do it. He probably thought, "I'll leave it there because it's for the people of Port Talbot." Yeah. Well, no, someone came along and slashed the corner of the garage off, and it's worth about 3 million. Yeah, but it wasn't the artist's intention.
The intention, but the message behind the art becomes diluted behind the price tags.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah,
it is awful.
It's just totally wrong. It's totally wrong. Art there should be for the people, and these businesses should hand them all back, for our sake, or put them in an art gallery so we can all look at them, and appreciate them, regardless of how much the businesses think they're worth. They're actually there for the common man to look at these paintings, like them, loathe them.
Yeah, no, that's a good answer. But yeah, I mean, they're my questions. And then something that popped in my head, I was like, well, sometimes do people like do art for the money if they're in that particular situation? But I think that's a whole different, like kettle of fish and can be like decisive. Maybe think about it a bit more. So maybe not include that. But anyway, yeah. But that's kind of it. They're my questions. Yeah, that's gone really quickly. Yeah. But yeah, thank you for coming on. I hope you've enjoyed.
Yeah. Me on my soapbox as usual about art.
No, it was genuinely really, really good. Really nice conversation. Do you want to say goodbye to the listeners? The multitude of listeners.
Yeah, I'll probably get soothing now, won't I? I'll have a hate campaign against me because I've dissed the work.
But maybe. You never know. Yeah. Thank you all so much for listening to today's episode. I really hope you enjoyed it. It seems that my episodes are getting longer and longer with each passing week. So please let me know if this is too long or you think I'll get more views if it's shorter. But I'm really liking these longer form episodes, especially with other people being in them. It's quite nice to bounce ideas off people. So maybe this will become more of a regular thing where I interview people. I really like that. I have a few people I've liked to interview as well. A few friends want to get involved. So I'm really excited for where we're going. It's nice that it's keeping regular and managing to stay on top of it. Let's not jinx ourselves. Thank you all so much for listening. Take care and let's keep talking.